a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time for war and a time for peace. This evening we are gathered to celebrate the life of Crystal Montoya. And this will be for us a time to mourn, a time to cry, and even, I hope, a time to laugh as we remember and celebrate Crystal Montoya. Would you please join me in prayer? God, thank you that you have promised to be near the brokenhearted. And tonight I pray that you would be so present that people can feel that you are with them and for them, providing comfort and peace and hope. God, thank you for being kind and loving. And God, I pray that you will provide everyone here this evening what they need, that you will give them a peace that passes understanding. So, Jesus, I pray this in your name. Amen. I'm going to share Crystal's obituary. Our beloved daughter, Crystal Montoya, was born on Long Island, New York, on May 16, 2008. She went home to be with Jesus on March 6, 2025, at the age of 16 in Columbus, Ohio. Crystal will remain a bright light in our lives and will forever be cherished by her parents, Christina and Camilo, along with her younger siblings, Jalen, Camilo, and Josiah. She had a passion for wrestling and touched so many lives in the wrestling family, in school, in church, and in her community. She was able to maintain a high GPA throughout various sports and clubs, while she dreamed of becoming a psychology teacher, followed by coaching wrestling at Westerville Central High, where she attended. Her ultimate joy and motivation was spending time with her siblings, who she loved so dearly. We will miss Crystal's silly, loving, and generous acts, as well as remember her honest, compassionate, gentle, pure spirit each and every day. Well, Crystal was a part of the student ministry here in our church at Creekside. She was a part of this church family for many years. I got the opportunity to know Crystal by attending a Christian summer camp with her the last 2 summers. And I remember the sparkly cowboy hat that she wore. I remember that we did a high ropes course together and how she just climbed right through it without hesitation. And Christina, you told me that Crystal was always trying new things. And it could be anything from sports to playing an instrument to joining a club at school. That she was always curious and wanting to try new things. So this meant that she tried playing the piano, the saxophone, and the flute. She was part of the mock trial club, the Christian athletic club, and the Spanish club. Crystal tried dance when she was younger. She tried a lot of different sports as well. She tried volleyball and soccer and track. But eventually she tried wrestling, and she loved it. Crystal was awarded a district letter for wrestling and was recognized as a scholar athlete for wrestling. But long before she achieved these recognitions, Crystal had to convince her mom that joining the wrestling team was a good idea. So Christina, you told me that she did this by making a PowerPoint presentation in which she would convince you that wrestling was a good idea for her. And then when she wanted the family, she did the same. She made a PowerPoint presentation for why the family should get a dog. And I'm going to guess that she did a real good job with that because you told me you got Milo about 4 years ago. So it was a convincing presentation. You told me that whatever Crystal did, anything from the PowerPoint presentations to cleaning the bathroom, she did it really, really well. She put her best into it. Crystal worked hard at the things that she did. And a lot of what she did for her family and for her friends. She was always very supportive of her friends. but she always looked out for her siblings. Christina, you also told me that Crystal enjoyed singing and that she would sometimes sing in a funny voice, maybe even kind of knowing she wasn't the strongest singer, so she'd sing with even more enthusiasm. And then when she was younger, that she and Jalen would sing the song, Let It Go. And so as a way to celebrate who Crystal was as a person, we're going to play Let It Go from Frozen. And as you hear this song, let it remind you of Crystal's ready and easy smile and how silly, funny, and fun she was. So Crystal brought a lot of joy to our lives. At this time, the family would like to provide everyone here the opportunity to share a remembrance of Crystal. I know a number have been shared already this afternoon. And if you're willing to do this, we would just invite you to stand where you are and share your thoughts and and memories, the things you appreciated and liked about Crystal. And then for the benefit of the family and the live stream, we'd ask you just wait to start speaking until you receive the microphone. So if there's anybody that would like to share a remembrance, go ahead and please stand up, and then Jennifer will bring that microphone to you.
I did track with Crystal my freshman year. Sorry. I was not that close with her, but I always saw her throwing, and she tried so hard. She'd always stay late after practice and work on her form and technique. I wasn't lucky enough to actually get to know her more, but I came through passing conversations, and she's just such a sweet girl. She was so shy, in my opinion, and I always see her being all laughing, bubble with other friends, and I admired her hard work. I just had states this weekend, and I threw for you, Crystal. I will keep on doing track and throwing in hopes to go D1. I'm going to get some purple ribbon and put up my shoes for you and work harder and harder every day because I knew you would love to do the same. So I'm going to keep on throwing for you in hopes I can make our dreams come true together. I remember seeing you in the wrestling room practicing. I'd always come in and say hi to Chair and to RB3, and always just say hi. And I remember seeing you, and man, you worked so hard. You were a crazy wrestler, man. I knew Chair always begged me to do it, and I wish I did to see you, because man, you worked really hard. And I remember just saying, "Dang, she's good at Chair." Because man, you from across the room, you just worked so hard, and I could see it. It was pouring out your face. You worked so hard, and you're sweating all down your body, and man, you're still going at it. So I'll keep throwing for you, and I hope it's maybe do wrestling for you too, to make Jer happy. I know you're in here. But yeah, I'll be throwing for you, Crystal, and I hope I remember you well.
Hey. Me and Crystal were friends for a while in sophomore year. And I remember I was in the study hall, I think it was third period, and she texted me on Instagram. And she was like, "Hey, can I tell you something?" I'm like, "Sure." She's like, "Never mind." I'm like, "No, now you gotta tell me now. You gotta tell me now, I'm gonna get mad." And she's like, "Well, I like you." And I was like, "It's April 1st. I'm like, "Are you messing with me?" She's like, "What do you think?" And, obviously, being me, I didn't reply to her for another 5 periods in school. And I remember her sitting down in honors English class. I remember being so nervous, and I went up to her and I whispered in her ear, "Would you go out with me this weekend?" And instead of saying yes, she said, "I have work this weekend." I'm like, "You work every weekend?" She's like, "I'll call off." So, yeah. I regret a lot of things about how we ended eventually. We didn't talk for 10 months, but we did wrestle together junior year. Something I told her I would never do. So much for that. Yeah. She, I didn't appreciate her as much as I probably should have when we were together. And I'm probably going to regret that every day for the rest of my life. But that time we had together at Jimmy V's in Uptown, or glow in the dark putt-putt in the most shady part of town ever. Or, her birthday at Zoomizi Bay. You guys know what happened to Zoomizi Bay. And she bought me this, it was a 2-pack. One of, I got a Batman wrist bracelet, and she got a Hello Kitty one. And on each of them, there's half of a heart that's a magnet, so they come together. I don't know where that is now. Probably somewhere in her room and under her dresser or something like that. But she took it off after we broke up. And the other half will probably be the part of me that I lost forever. So hopefully when I get to heaven one day, God knows when, maybe Jesus will make us a movie theater so we can go to that again. If you say yes, of course. We never got to the point of saying it. You didn't get mad, but you said we weren't ready. So I hope you know that I love you a lot. I miss you a lot. And I hope you know that. I'm sorry for crying like a baby earlier. But at least you know that I care. All right, thanks.
Hi, I was Crystal's classmate for about 2 years. I had English with her last year with Ryder, and I had, I think study hall was Crystal was in our study hall as well with all of our friends, and I really got to know her pretty well last year. And one thing I noticed is she just brought such a positive mood into school. Like, last year was honestly really stressful for a lot of us, but like every time she would make a joke with our teacher, like it just brought such a relief into my day. I also had Spanish with her this year. She was definitely a really important part of our class. I know a lot of my classmates are here right now. We definitely miss her a lot. It's definitely different, her not being in our class. It makes a huge difference. But she just brought so much positivity into all of our lives, even if we didn't know her like outside of school, or if we weren't that close to her. Like, she just felt like it's not even the same. Like, our class is not the same anymore. It doesn't feel as positive. It like she just brought such a light into all of our lives, and I'm glad that everyone's here to share their memories of her.
Hi, I'm Gloria. I'm pretty sure you guys are tired of hearing from me. I know she's tired of hearing from me too. I want to piggyback of what Ryder said earlier. Every single time they'd send a text message to each other, she would always screenshot it to me. So whenever he said anything, I was like the first person to see it. Every single time. She was like, the one thing that I remember the most is that I think we were at dinner about a year ago and at Chanel's birthday party, and Ryder sent her a picture of his temps, if I remember right, and she was like, "Oh my God, he's so cute. What do I do?" And I was like, "Oh no." And then she told me, I think it was second period. She was like, "Should I tell Ryder that I like him?" And I was like, "It's April 1st. He's not gonna believe you." She's like, "But should I just do it?" And then she saw a TikTok, and I was like, "Don't do it." And she was like, "But this is a sign." So she did it, and then every single period that he wouldn't message her back, she was just straight up freaking out. What if he doesn't like me? What, he just left me on red. Oh no, what do I do? And I'm so glad that we had these silly memories. And freshman year, I joined track because I had a huge crush on this guy, and the whole entire time she was just like, "Why are you doing this?" I was like, "Because I have a crush on a guy." She's like, "Oh, me." She's like, "That makes sense. I would do that too." Sophomore year, we didn't have any classes together, but we met in Spanish freshman year. But she would bother me all the time second period. Like, Mr. Park would be like, "Dude, she's taking an exam. You have to leave." She's like, "No, I'm okay." This year, we also have second periods together. We had study hall together, and she would never do her work. She would always just sit there, eating something, or she'd be like, "Do you want some?" And I'd be like, "No, I'm okay." And she's like, I'd try to constantly do my homework, and she'd be like, "School's not that big of a deal. You'll be fine." I've always been very pessimistic about life, and I've never really been positive until I really met Crystal. My personality is kind of similar to hers if I was more positive, if that makes sense. I'm so glad that I was able to meet her, and the thing is, I've never really smiled as much until I met her. I mean, I would always hate going to school. I just do my work. I would talk to people, but I would never really get close to anyone. and I was so glad that I was able to meet her at least once. Crystal, wherever you are, I just want you to know that I love you so much. Even though you did annoy me sometimes when you were talking too much when I was trying to do my work, I'm so glad you were there for me. And I miss you no matter how far you are, no matter where you are. You'll always be my best friend.
Hello, can you hear me? I'm Olivia, and I was Crystal's friend from middle school. We met in about 7th grade, and we had math and science together. We, as soon as we met, we were immediately best friends. We wrestled each other all the time, and we had sleepovers, and we hung out a lot. We would call each other, and we literally just talk about nothing for hours. I remember we always had some drama to talk about. We would talk about the people that we are and the people that we'd want to become. We would always be making plans for the future. There was nothing about me that she didn't know. I told her everything. And I remember at sleepovers, me, her, and Jalen, we would get together and we'd do each other's makeup and we eat junk food, so much junk food. And we would walk around and we would go to the dollar store and we would prank call our friends. And when I found out what happened, because I wasn't on social media or anything, so I didn't know what happened until a few days after at school. And when I found out what happened, I thought that maybe it was a prank, a really, really bad one, but I thought maybe it was just a really bad prank, but it wasn't. Even as we went to high school, we were still friends. During breaks we would hang out, and during school we would go to football games, home track meets together for one another. And even though we didn't get to see each other as much as we did in middle school, we were still very close friends. Even though we hadn't talked to each other for a while, things would immediately go back to how they've been. We never stopped being friends. When there was a time where we could finally talk after being so busy from school and sports, we'd always catch each other up on what's been happening in our lives. She was always there for me. No matter what happened, she was always there. And she made sure that I was okay. Whenever she knew that something was going on. I will never be more grateful to have had her in my life. If I had known that she had felt like this way, if she had told me that something was wrong, I would have dropped whatever that I was doing so I could be there for her, because she was there for me so much. And I always told her that if she ever needed anything, that I would be there for her. And even though it's too late now, I know that she is in a better place. And I'm so proud of the person that she became. And I'm so proud of the person that she was. I know that she was striving to become a strong and resilient person and the best version of herself. She's one of the kindest souls on this earth, and that is something hard to find. So even though I am sad that she is gone, I'm happy that she is in a better place and finally at peace. So thank you for listening to me, and I share your grief.
Hello, everybody. I'm Trey Bogatich. I coached Crystal for the past 2 years. And I feel like I knew Crystal really well, but at the same time, not well enough. I just found out her favorite color is the same as mine. So there's some of those things that I wish I had, more time to learn about her. But what I do know is working with her for the past 2 years, there's really one thing above everything else that I really admired about her, and it was her quiet determination. No matter what she did, she just she had that quiet determination. And I have really two examples. I took the girls wrestling team rock climbing. Day Day was hurt, so unfortunately she could not join us. But it was me, Holly, Crystal, and my stepbrother. And we were there for 2 hours, and I remember sitting there the entire time because all she was doing for like the first hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half, was sitting there watching people go up and down the wall, sitting there and just watching. And I remember thinking to myself, it really sucks that, I brought you here and you are not enjoying it at all. You don't want to do it. And then finally there was a point where Holly and I and Will were down at the other end, and I see her off on her own, and she just starts scaling the wall on one of the harder ones. I struggle to do it. Holly and Will both were trying it, and it was tough, but she sat there and she watched people go up over and over and over until she could do it herself. And there were other walls like that too, where she would just sit there and she'd watch. And they ended up going back again, so I was, relieved that she actually did enjoy her time. The other time, I didn't know that she was maybe struggling as much, but it was a wrestling practice. And they can be tough sometimes. But she was trying to lose weight. She was trying to get down to the next lowest weight class. And the previous tournament, she's like, I think I can do it. I told her, I was like, just take another week, give yourself some time. And she started, getting down. And then the day before, 2 days before, she was still like 4 pounds over, 5 pounds over. And I put him through the ringer that day, honestly. And I just remember afterwards, she came back in to the wrestling room, and she's like, I lost 4.6 pounds that practice. And she just laid down, and she starts this, I don't even know how to describe it, this laugh cry, where she was so relieved to have, lost the weight. And then she just goes, that was the hardest practice of my life. But that's what she did, is no matter how difficult, how tough things seemed, she would keep going at it and keep going at it. And every single open mat, she was getting, 1% better every single time. And I really, really admire that determination and that consistent effort to try to be your best self, to try to be your best, friend to others. And, same thing with school or whatever it is. She really gave everything that she could to everything she did. And I'll always admire that about her.
I just wanted to share a couple moments that I was able to have with Crystal. So if anyone had Miss Herrick last year, you just know how that was. And she came up to Crystal one time and was like, oh, you saw your wrestling? And Crystal was just like, yeah. It was so funny. And Miss Herrick would fall and fart. And we would all just be laughing together, just awkwardly looking around. And that was just crazy. But anyways, and then also Gloria had posted something about Crystal in our study hall. It was me, Izzy, Persia, Gloria, and Crystal in Miss Lippencott's room, and Crystal was playing with her lip gloss or something, and it was it just squirt all over Miss Lippencott. And I just wanted to share those moments because even though she's not here anymore, it was really nice when she was here. So.
My name is Nathan Higginbotham. The wrestling team calls me Higgy. From the first day that I met Crystal, a few things stood out to me, and it was her strive to get better and her amazing kindness. And it almost made me want to pursue the friendship with her even more than just being a wrestling teammate, and it was something that I really cherished. So over the summer, me and her went to the sand wrestling tournament. I'd asked a few other wrestlers if they wanted to go, and nobody had said yes. But she was always ready for the next challenge, the next opportunity to get better. So we are at the sand tournament. We're recording each other's matches. It's awesome. There's a DJ. It's sunny out. She's loving it. She goes against state qualifier girl, and she's already nervous. She's like, Higgy, I don't know if I can do this. This is going to be a really tough match, but I'm excited. And I just kept hyping her up. I'm like, you know what? You got this. You just got to wrestle your match. You got it. You got it. I see her get thrown in her face, unfortunately. But you know what? She kept getting back up and getting back up and getting back up. And she was so determined to get better. But I think the funniest part about this whole story is that once she had the sand in her face and once the match was finally over, she's caked in just wet sand. It's just not coming off. She can't brush it off. She goes and asks everybody around if there's a hose to wash her face off. Even the tournament director had no idea if there was a hose or not or anywhere she could wash up. So Crystal made her own way. She went throughout the whole school, found the nearest water fountain, and there she was, rinsing off her face. I'm looking for her. I'm like, where did she go? So I have to use the restroom, and she's at the water fountain, rinsing off her face. So she was always finding her own way to pursue greatness, to pursue kindness, to pursue a better version of herself. And it makes me want to pursue the same kind of thing and strive to become a better person. One thing that I'm going to be doing for Crystal is never quitting wrestling. My coach here, Trey Bogey, he was told by Crystal that he should never stop coaching, that whatever he does, don't ever stop. And I want to go on the same kind of journey with Trey and help coach and find more people like Crystal. Beautiful, beautiful people like Crystal. That's all.
Hi, I'm Claire. I do photography for the school, and I'm ready. I photograph lots of sports. Half the time, I don't know what's going on, including wrestling. I never knew what was going on. I always tried to figure it out. I'd be like, okay, people are cheering. He slammed him down to the floor, okay. But I'll be completely honest, I never really cared. I was just there to get good pictures. But I remember when Crystal went on, I was like, wait, I kind of care about this. And I was with my best friend Destiny. She's right here. Destiny's like my moral support when I go to take photos. And I kind of looked at her and I was like, do you know what's going on? And she was like, no. But we both had so much fun watching Crystal, not because we knew what was going on or we understood it, but because everybody else that watched her had so much love for her. And, Trey and Mr. McSwords would just, sometimes when the boys would be going, they'd just be like screaming and like, but then Crystal was on, and they'd be like screaming, but they'd also be like smiling and cheering her on. And I was kind of like, I have no clue if this is good or bad, because everybody was just always happy watching her, no matter what the result was. And I just loved watching her. She would come into my Spanish class and just sit with Mrs. Park sometimes, and she'd always be right in front of me. And she was always so sweet. And I loved taking pictures of her. I still wish I understood what the heck was going on in that wrestling meet. But yeah, she was an amazing athlete, and I'm going to take so many pictures of girls' sports for her. And yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Bailey. Me and Crystal went to church here together, and I just wanted to get up here and say how much I loved her presence. She was overall such a wonderful person, so beautiful and so faithful. One of my favorite memories with her was during CIY, which was a church camp we attended, the same place that she bought her sparkly cowboy hat that she loves so much. During camp, I would walk into her room tired, and somehow she would convince me to try 3 different energy drinks, and we'd end up dancing for hours. No matter where or what we were doing, she always put a smile on people's faces, and I'll forever be grateful I got to share that smile with her. Me and Crystal just talked so easy. We could say one word and end up having a whole conversation off of it. She was so strong, and I admired that. It was always fun watching Paul try to be as strong as her, but he never was. Crystal, if you're listening, I miss you a lot, but I know one day we'll be dancing in heaven together again, like nothing has ever changed.
Hey, I'm Ren. I go to Genoa Middle School. I was a wrestler there this year. One of my favorite memories with her was at a tournament at Lancaster, which was a horrible tournament, by the way. We were stuck there for hours, doing absolutely nothing. 2 hours between each match. I remember me and Crystal were sitting across from the table from each other. We had both lost 2 matches in a row, and I was devastated. It was a really hard tournament. And she found a way to bring me back up. And we cracked jokes, and I think that was the best part of that tournament. And I feel so guilty for not catching her last match, but I'm sure she wrestled all the way to the end. She was the greatest. I feel bad I didn't reach out to her, because she's a cool junior, and I was so scared to talk to a high schooler, because they're pretty intimidating, but I wish I had reached out, because she was definitely one of the least intimidating high schoolers I'd ever met. And she had that way with people that made me care about her that much more if I had only talked to her for a few hours that day. I remember seeing her at the beginning of that tournament. My friends told me about her. I was like, wait, she wrestles? This is so cool, because now I get to talk to her. I get to be friends with a cool high schooler. And I did become friends with her. And that was a few months ago, and I hadn't talked to her since. She was the greatest, and I will continue to wrestle for her, even if it's really hard, all the time.
I have no idea how everyone before me has managed to stay so composed. I don't think I'm living up to the standard, but it is what it is. I didn't really want to say anything because I express myself better when my words are written. And she's not there to read them anymore. And I keep rubbing my chest and pulling on my cross and kind of hoping that that ache that I'm sure a lot of us are feeling will just fade away. But I'm pretty depressing anyways, so I thought I'd talk about a nice story. This infamous pink cowboy hat that is now like a staple part of her life. I was there when she bought it. We were at Dollywood on this CIY trip, and that was when Crystal and I first got close. And up to that point, even in like the bus ride there, and I was across, there were kind of like these joint dorms, and I would travel through the bathroom and just to see Crystal and her roommate. And I'd say in the past year or two, I've really, mellowed out and tried to be slower in judgment and quicker to faith. And she was a really big part of that. She kind of had this quiet peace about her that I really admired. And I was like, this is
one of those people that you don't want to let go of. You kind of want to keep them close and learn from them when you can. So through a lot of that trip, we kind of leaned on each other. We talked to each other more than anyone else, despite I've known these people for like my entire life. But I probably talked to her more than anyone else there. And we went into the Dollywood. We were in Dollywood. And we went into the store. I hated it. I don't like country stuff. I thought it was tacky, and I didn't want to be there. But she went in and she picked up this hat, and it was like the first thing we saw when we walked in. And I was like, you cannot buy that. That is so obnoxious. And she picked it up and she had it. She was like, I'm just waiting for you to buy something because I already know what I want. And she was sure about herself, like maybe not always, but I think she had a lot of moments where she knew what she wanted and she was gonna stick to it. And I got some stickers and some butterfly things, which is probably not any less tacky, but she wanted me to buy one of those hats, and I was not gonna be caught anywhere with that thing on my head. And I was like, I don't look good in the color pink. It's not gonna go over my hair, and maybe I should have bought one. But she kind of had that. I don't know if she brought it on the second CIY trip, but on the first, she had it with her everywhere in the dorm when we would go down to worship in this gigantic sanctuary, and the hat was always there. And I've come to appreciate the hat. Whenever I think of her, I definitely think of that hat and, the sparkliness. And it reminds me to kind of be a bit more positive, carry a little bit more energy, and just really live in her memory. So that's all I have.
I'm Pete. I'm Trey's dad, one of Crystal's coaches, and I was gonna try to keep this light. So with us coaching together, Trey and I, taking 3 girls to a tournament, it is a lot different than taking boys. Boys, you're listening to music that's, in your mind, you're gonna go into a wrestling tournament, little pump-up music. We had a wrestling playlist on Spotify that was not what you would think a wrestling playlist should be. Shakira, Britney Spears, TLC, Rihanna, and turning that thing on when they all jump in the truck, I'm going, oh, this is gonna be a long trip. But for me, as a coach, I'm the guy that's always trying to think of a way to get a kid to wrestle, work between the ears, and trying to figure out what makes them tick. And Crystal would get really pumped up, probably way too much pumped up for matches. Her arms are going, her legs are kicking people behind her. So in saying that, I would try to do things, and Trey would try to do things to kind of make it a little lighter, to try to get her to wrestle at her peak. And in doing that, we were called out by saying that we should act more like adults from Crystal and Day Day, and Holly just staring at us. But those are the little things I think about. It's on the mat. Love to see the kids do well, but it's about the person, the people, where they start, where they end up, and when they come back. So for me, that's the part I'm going to miss, is not her being able to come back, hang out with us, and like she said, she wanted to coach. So definitely going to miss her.
The man who just spoke is my godfather, and I've grown up with these fellas my whole life. So I grew up around wrestling, and Claire, FYI, when you know what's happening, it's even less fun. You watch guys get their faces shoved in the mat, and even my own brother I watched wrestle my whole life, he looked like he had the utmost unfun. But watching Crystal wrestle as a stat, you couldn't tell if she was winning or if she was losing, because she was always having so much fun. Even if you didn't know the rules, you'd think she was winning, but it didn't even matter if she won or she lost, because even after her match, she was cheering on her teammates. She was there to the end, rolling up the mats. She was always just there to have a good time in a very unfun, unhappy sport. And she really made it a lot more fun on that team.
Okay, so me and Crystal were friends from middle school, and we would always she was a friend of a friend, so I never really knew her until my friend introduced me to her, and she was like, she's really fun. I'm like, but she's so introverted. I never heard her talk. She's so quiet. And then we get to talking, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, she's so nice. She's so sweet. And she was literally the smartest person ever. We'd always be sitting together, and she would always help me with my homework. I'm just like, okay, you're so smart. And then from this year, we would have fly time together, and we would always be catching each other up on stuff. And it would be we'd share pictures and be she would show me her dad, her little siblings. She's like, look what she did. Look what he did. Oh my God. And we'd just be laughing about it. And it's just she was so sweet. She was so nice. And she was literally the funniest person ever. She cannot be serious, bro. She can never be serious. She's the least serious person ever, but yeah, she was really sweet.
Hi, my name's Ava Heckman. I'm a wrestler at Westville North High School, and I remember seeing Crystal about a week and a half ago when we were at districts together, and she came up to me and gave me the biggest hug, and she was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever, it's so nice. And I was just so proud of her, because I used to go back to the middle school, Walnut Springs, and help go coach the girls. And she has come so far. The athlete she became in her lifetime was truly amazing, and she really stuck it out. Girls wrestling used to be much different. There was very few of us, so it was so heartwarming to see a face stick with it and see her there. Just feel this heaviness now that she's gone, but I know that she's at peace now. So that's all I have.
Well, thank you so much. Everyone shared your remembrances of Crystal, and in hearing what was shared, it's so obvious why her loss is so deeply painful and why there is that heaviness and sadness. When there is loss, like the death of a loved one, there's grief. And I think it's important for everyone to know that there is no wrong way to grieve. Each person is different in the way they experience grief. And when there's grief, there can also be hope and peace, even in the midst of that pain and sadness. Both can be true at the same time. In the Bible, in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, we read the writing of the Apostle Paul, and he wrote, I tell you a mystery. We will not all die, but we will be changed in a flash, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. When the perishable has been clothed with imperishable, and the mortal with immortality, then the saying that is written will come true. Death has been swallowed up in victory. Where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting? Thanks be to God, he gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Through faith in Jesus, there can be hope and peace even as we are grieving. For us, death feels like the end. But God tells us that death is not the end, but rather death is a transition. It's a transition from this life to the next, from the physical to the spiritual, and into life with God forever. Jesus told his followers, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am." I just think, what better place than to be than with Jesus in the Father's house? So tonight, I encourage you, do not let your hearts be troubled, because Jesus has prepared a place for Crystal. May you find comfort, peace, and hope, knowing that Jesus has prepared a place for all those who have faith in him. Crystal has made her transition into eternity to be with God forever. And so as you feel the loss of Crystal, your daughter, your granddaughter, your sister, your niece, and your friend, may you find joy as you remember Crystal, as you reflect on her life and the life that you shared with her. Would you please join me in prayer one more time? God, again, I ask that you would be near the brokenhearted, as this room is full tonight of people who love Crystal and are brokenhearted with her death. God, I pray that your love and your peace would be for everyone here. God, that you will provide what only you can, and you call that a peace that is beyond our understanding. And so, God, I ask for this on behalf of everyone here, that you give them the comfort and hope and peace that they need. Jesus, thank you that you've prepared a place for Crystal. Thank you that you've done so many good things. And I pray, Jesus, that you will continue to provide for this family and all those who love Crystal. Jesus, I pray this in your name. Amen. On behalf of the family, I'd like to invite everyone to join the family for a light meal in our gym. So this concludes our service, and at this time you may offer your condolences and support to the family. And if you would kind of start with the front rows and kind of go out the sides. The gym is that way down the hall.